In recent history, Africa's Great Lake region has in so many ways become a dialogue between the living and the dead. And when the living fail in their obligation to honor the dead and go so far as deny the deaths that have happened in that part of the region, they begin to perpetuate the cycle of creating and speaking about the violence and the crimes that are happening in that part of the region. In the 24th Extraordinary Summit of the East African Community, President, or His Excellency President Paul Kagame, has given a brilliant speech. Take a look.
For the last 2 days, on Monday and today this morning, I spoke with the President of South Africa, who sought me out to speak with me on this matter because of their involvement in Eastern Congo. And he's also there pretending to be playing a peacemaker role. And he has a force that has been fighting alongside FDLR and has been fighting the M23 on the instructions of Tshisekedi, because these are people who are not supposed to be in Congo.
The history of the DRC is so complex, and sometimes we don't really capture the essence of what is happening and what has led to the conflict that we see today. But to my little knowledge, what I can share is what you find today is a conflict that was started, I think, way before colonialism. I think the 1885 Berlin Conference left us with the challenges that we see today in Africa, because they sat and decided that the line crossing from between Congo and Rwanda must cross here, and it didn't take into account that there's certain people who find themselves now in a new country. And this is where the issues that you would find in the DRC today stem from. It stems from people who were not part of what we today call the Congo, have one day now been, it has been determined that they are now Congolese, because in essence, really, they were born in that part of the DRC. So those lines really didn't take into account that. So mind you, they speak Rwandese, mind you, they are Tutsi, you know, when you consider ethnicity. But in essence, people are then saying they are not Congolese, but really they are from Congo. They are in the land in which they grew up in. So those are the challenges that you then find that were imposed on us to try and put together. But what was interesting is what His Excellency Paul Kagame had mentioned in that area, where he was saying that people who are not from that land find themselves there. And here he was talking about the SADC peacekeeping mission that is there. He spoke about MONUSCO, which is a UN-sent mission that finds themselves there. And he was also speaking about M23 that is operating there. He also went further to speak about other rebel groups that are also entrenched in that part of the region. So this is why there's so many issues in that region. And this is why people are fighting back. And really the people in that part of the region, what they are advocating for and they are speaking for is to be recognized as Congolese, to be recognized as those people who are the original inhabitants of the land. They are not getting services from the government. Kinshasa is not looking after their needs, etc. And this is why, and this is what led to them saying they are not going to stand for it, and they want to now revolt against the government. So these are the issues that you find in that part of the region. But really what I wanted to speak about is what the president of Rwanda spoke about at the 24th Extraordinary Summit, which encompasses all the East African communities and the countries and the member states that you'd find in that region. I think the chairperson is chaired by President Ruto. which is quite interesting. When you break down the essence of what he was talking about, I think normally we break down our speeches in three, where you'd have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. But listening to what he was talking about, he phrased it differently. He didn't have an introduction, he didn't have a body, and he didn't conclude, really. What he opened with was a powerful statement that spoke to his purpose. He spoke about expectation. Did people not expect what is happening in the DRC today? Did they not expect what is happening? And he spoke about him understanding the region so much that he expected something like this would happen. He spoke about what is the role of the economic community, the East African community, and what is the role that they are playing today. Because previously they were there militarily to try and keep the peace in that region, and the DRC president had then taken them out. So he spoke about those issues, which for me really made sense, and that's a very relevant question. I think a lot of people have also questioned why have we grouped ourselves in these regions, and what is the significance of us being part of these regional blocks? Why do we still have the African Union today? What is the role that they're playing, and how are they assisting African countries that are struggling? So in his purpose, really, His Excellency President Paul Kagame spoke about those issues, which made a lot of sense. Having outlined the purpose, because he didn't need to introduce himself, these were his colleagues, these were people that knew him, he spoke and he really outlined his purpose quite strongly, which made a lot of sense. In the middle of the speech, because he did move away from his purpose and why they were there and the issues that they needed to discuss, but right in the middle, he spoke and he went into the serious issues of the day. Speaking about what is really happening in the region. And to the core of what he was talking about is the issue around the M23 being members or being citizens of the Congo. And he spoke about really why they wanted themselves in that region, and why any normal person wouldn't want to be treated like that by his or her own government. And really speaking about the issue that these people, what they really want is to be acknowledged by their government, to be acknowledged by Kinshasa, and really incorporated into the military, which made a lot of sense to me. But as per norm, we're really not going deep into the speech and into the politics of the speech, but we're really trying to look at the theme and the issues that he has outlined. Right at the end, he spoke about something that is very contentious. He then took it to South Africa to speak about why does South Africa find themselves in that region, and speaking about the South African president, about the inaccuracies in the speeches, speaking about the soldiers, the South African soldiers that were hurt in that region, saying that it wasn't really from the M23, it was from the DRC forces that have inflicted, the harm in the South African soldiers. So those were the issues. I really think if I were to grade the speech itself, I would give it a 6 out of 10, because this was no ordinary speech. This is a speech that came from a man who understands war, a man who has operated in that part of the region during the days of the Hutus and the Tutsis, when there was war in Rwanda. So this was a man who, when he speaks, people need to listen, and people take him very seriously in that part of the world. This is a man who has led armies. This is a man who has led his countrymen to freedom and to where the country is today. And all over the world, I think a lot of people give credence to the man, and they speak about the great deeds that he has done in his country. So really, when you look at who was giving the speech and how prominent and what the profile of the president is, really, it gave that speech a bit of weight. So those are the issues, and I don't want to get into the politics too much, but that's all that I had today, looking at what the Rwandan president spoke about at the East African Community Extraordinary Summit, which made a lot of sense, and I thought I should bring it to the people. Let me know what you think. Let me know which speech should I try and look at next, and we'll see each other there. Thank you so much.